Welcome to the Game of Thrones Iron Podcast, Episode 2. I'm here with Rose Snow, bitch of Westeros, leader of the Red Vipers Bannerman.
Hello.
And Sean Pike.
We do not so.
We do not so. And I'm Mike Blackfire, and today we're going to do Episode 2.
All right, folks, just like last time, we've got 6 topics, so why don't we begin with the first one? The first topic for today is Robb and Ned's relationship. By the way, today is mostly Season 1 topics. I mean, we'll bring up stuff from other seasons, but mostly Season 1 topics and very heavily Stark. So again, first topic, Robb and Ned's relationship from Season 1. That is King Robert Baratheon and Ned Stark.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, I love their relationship. They're like buddies. They remind me like two buddies from high school that talk about the football team. They're joking and, you know, I think Ned's the only one that could probably get away with calling Robert a fat ass, you know, and joke about it. You know, he can't fit his armor and everything. And I think they're great. I love the actor for Robert. I think he's fantastic. He's a lot of fun and definitely brings a lot of comedy to the show. And, you know, Ned's kind of like the straight man in that duo. And it's pretty good. I really like the relationship between those two.
I feel that that Robb is the wildest side of Ned, being that he's such a reserved man. So, you know, that's my take on their relationship. They definitely have that brotherly love kind of thing going on, closely bonded. And again, like, you know, Robb and Ned are total opposites, but still have that undying bond between them.
Yeah, they're definitely complements to one another. They're raised together. And I like how you bring up that there's things that, I mean, Robb is this fearsome king, this warrior king,
right.
And Ned can say things to him that nobody else can. He can question him in front of the small council. He can tell him he's wrong, you know, and get away with a lot. You know, they're raised together, they're fostered together. Does the show really mention that they're fostered together?
I think they did mention it when Robert first came to Winterfell. They mentioned it when they were going to see the crypt, and they said, you know, that you know, he didn't listen to Jon Arryn. He should have. Like, they were. I think they mentioned it in passing.
They didn't really get into it in its entirety. I think the book probably dabbles a little bit more in it.
Yeah.
The show sort of in passing mentions it.
No, they have so much to cover. I guess they have to squeeze these things in like little doses.
Yeah, and it's been said. It has been said.
So, you know, they're raised together, right? And obviously, you know, Robert's rebellion, and this is mostly book stuff, but it's mentioned in the show as well. Robert's rebellion begins in large part when Ned's elder brother dies, and his name escapes me right now. And I kind of get the relationship between Robb and Ned has a lot to do with the fact that Ned's older brother, who was the leader, right? Ned wasn't supposed to inherit Winterfell. His brother was.
Right.
And he was just a second to his brother. That the fact that his brother died, like you guys keep saying, it's the brotherly relationship. I think Ned kind of takes his love for his passed on brother, who he was supposed to be his second, right? He's supposed to be his elder brother's bannerman. Instead, he kind of becomes Robb's bannerman, and it's kind of like transfused a little bit.
Well, one thing that I was pointing out to Mike as well, that we were discussing just last night, was the fact that Robb Stark, the oldest Stark child, of course, besides Jon Snow, is named Robb, and that would probably be, you know, no big coincidence that he was named Robert after Robert Baratheon. So
yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. I mean, I don't know if they don't actually say that, right?
I think they say it in the books.
Oh, they do?
Apply it
Okay.
in the books, yeah.
Right.
But I mean, I could be wrong, or maybe it's just something I connected in my head. But
Yeah.
I think so. Another thing that's cool, and you guys are kind of talking about this too, is that, like, all right, Robb's a horrible king, right?
Yeah,
we all kind of agree that Robb's a horrible king. And Ned wouldn't be a good king either, right? Because Ned's he doesn't really want to be a leader. He doesn't have to be a leader in Westeros, you need to have arrogance, right? And almost a desire for the throne.
I don't know. That's debatable to me.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the problem with Ned is he's not the king yet. If he had all the control and he got rid of... See, the problem with him is he wouldn't get rid of all of his enemies like he should. He wouldn't execute them. Like, you know, like Robert did. But the thing is, like, look at how he rules Winterfell. Like, Winterfell, they love him up there. Now, maybe it's a different culture, but he rules very well up there. That's just maybe it's just his comfort zone up there. But, I mean, you see the loyalty. I mean, when he gets captured, all the banners are called. And, you know, it looks like they're all like, yeah, Ned, you kidding me? Like, we got to go to war. And that's how I feel. I think if he had it set up right, Ned, he might be a good king.
I think you're right, though, that the North is different. The North's, every one of the seven kingdoms in Game of Thrones is kind of a different culture, and the North's culture is really different. And Ned rules through love. Yeah, the Starks are loved. Unlike the Lannisters, listen, everyone fears the Lannisters. Everyone tries to get in the Lannisters' good favor to get stuff out of them. But yeah, people love the Starks, and as we've kind of seen in the show, the Starks are down. Will that love of the Starks, that love of Ned, will it bring them back? Will people just... Because there's no reason why anyone's going to help the Starks get back in power, right? Yeah. But maybe out of that love. So, yeah. I don't know, Ro, you going to say something?
No, just, like you were saying, is I think that the Starks, as far as the House Stark goes in the show, I think that the Starks are the more morale, wholesome way of doing things over, of course, amongst the others. Like Theon is treated quite poorly by his father. He's a reject. And, of course, we'd never see that happen in Winterfell. Even Theon, being a ward, was not rejected the way his father rejected him when he got to the Iron Islands. So, again, I think that, once again shows Ned's character and what it was meant to be. So,
just to wrap this topic up, if Ned had been Robb's hand for a long period of time, maybe Ned doesn't go back up to the North. Maybe he, instead of Jon Arryn, becomes the hand. And they had complemented one another and been together for a long time. Does that stop a lot of things from happening? Are they better because they're together for a long time as king and hand?
Well, I mean, so much would have to change for Ned to stay down there. I mean, again, I don't know if they went into this in the story in the show, but in the books, it's like Ned's disgusted with Robert once he finds out that Tywin, was behind killing the Targaryen babies. He's like, "Are you guys kidding me? You guys kill babies here?" And he got out, and he was actually. You could see that they haven't been talking. I mean, I don't know how many ravens have been going back and forth between Robert and Ned. I mean, it looks like this hand of the king thing. Hey man, where's your ravens? I haven't talked to you. I really think that Ned was pretty pissed. But if that didn't happen, maybe if Ned had more, like I said before, I'll stick with that. If Ned had time to set it up right, maybe.
Well, again, it is tough to say. Which leads us into pretty much into our next topic. But, one thing that we're going to touch on here is the fact that Ned hands back his pin for King of the Hand because of Robb putting a hit out on the Targaryen baby carried by Daenerys. Which, again, brings us into our next topic.
Yeah, we are kind of segueing into topic 2. Who is Jon Snow's father? Now, for anybody who's listening who hasn't read the books and doesn't like to read a lot of spoilers, the topic is who is Jon Snow's father?
In theory.
Yeah, who is Jon Snow's father? And a lot of people on the internet, and if you read the books closely, and this is totally not me, people who have read the books for long before me came up with this, a lot of people on the internet believe that Jon Snow is a Targaryen. So here's the rundown, and I refreshed myself with the wiki of Fire and Ice, just so a lot of people, I don't know all this off the top of my head. Let's go back 20 years to Robb's Rebellion. Early in Robb's Rebellion, the son of the Targaryen king Rhaegar kidnaps Lyanna, Ned Stark's sister. They disappear for like a year, long enough to have a baby, right? Rhaegar is infatuated with Lyanna. His wife has not given him a female heir, so he's kind of doesn't like his wife. Do you remember who his wife was?
Yeah, it was Martell. Alara Martell?
Alara. I think you're right.
I'd have to look it up. But it was the Martell princess, yeah.
So, all right, Rhaegar takes Lyanna, kidnaps her. It's part of what starts Robb's Rebellion, the thing that's going to take the Targaryens off the throne and put Robb on the throne. So they disappear for a year. A year later, after the Battle of the Trident, Robb is injured. Ned takes some of his bannermen, including Howland Reed. Which you'll see, you meet their sons in the show. Jojen and
the daughter.
Yeah. Right. Takes them down south. Ned, Howland Reed, and some bannermen go down south to this place called the Tower of Joy, where Lyanna, is with 3 of the Kingsguard. Rhaegar has now died in the Trident, but he was with Lyanna for this entire year. So Eddard and his companions meet Lyanna a year later. She's guarded by 3 of the Kingsguard. Now remember, the Kingsguard job is to guard the king.
Right.
Rhaegar is dead. The Mad King is dead at this point as well. Ned says to them something to the effect of, "You're not doing your job because Viserys and Dany are going across the sea." And one of the 3 Kingsguard says, "No, we are doing our duty." They fight. Everyone dies except Ned and Howland Reed. So Ned and Howland Reed are then the only people who have any knowledge of what happens afterwards. Ned goes up into this Tower of the Joy, finds his sister laying in a, quote, bed of blood. Now, in the books, that phrase is only used for a birthing bed, a bed of blood. She makes him promise something. And by the way, we know this whole sequence because in book 1, Ned dreams this dream, right? In Game of Thrones book, Ned dreams the dream about this whole battle at the Tower of Joy. So she dies, makes him promise something. He comes up back north with a baby, Jon Snow. Also, one other thing from the books that kind of helps this whole theory along is when Dany's in the House of the Undying, she sees her brother Rhaegar with his infant son Aegon, which is who the mountain killed, the little baby, right? And they say to her, if the Targaryens come back, they'll have 3 heads.
Okay.
And who is the 3rd head? So that's kind of a thing. So there's a lot of things. And remember, in that whole sequence, it's icy and snowy, hence Jon Snow. So there's a lot of stuff that point to Jon being a Targaryen. And remember, Targaryens can marry more than one person. So maybe Jon's not a Targaryen bastard. Maybe Jon is a legitimate offspring because Rhaegar married Lyanna. So I'm sorry to segue, but I just wanted to throw that all out.
No, that's good. I mean, that's a lot of information. Thanks for doing that, Sean. And that's good for you guys who didn't read the books. That's a lot of stuff that you're probably going to get introduced later on. Just by going off the show, I'm going to say just the fact that I can't believe Ned would cheat on Catelyn. I mean, he's the honorable character in the story. I just can't see him, just based on you even meet him in the show. Does he look like the type that would go screw around with Robert and go knock some barmaid up? What did he say? Some girl that was... Right. I don't know. It just doesn't fit his character, even with that. And then with all that backstory, I expect something... There's definitely more to that Jon Snow character than meets the eye.
Well, what is in the show that... I mean, you give the big piece. It's his honor, right? Ned doesn't... we're going to talk about this in the next topic.
Ned's not a creeper type of guy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, besides that, what other evidence is in the show that maybe Jon is a Targaryen? Because you think if it's true, they'd have to put evidence in the show, right?
Well, perhaps maybe that's something that they're trying to leave a mystery at this point. There is another theory that he is in fact Ned's child, and on the internet, where if you was to look this up as well, you would be told that he is in fact Ned Stark's child. He looks like Ned more than the other kids do. So it's really hard to say. There are some resemblances between Robb and Jon, not a tremendous amount, but I don't know. I mean, it's so hard to say. It's just too soon to tell.
Well, they always say that Jon and Arya look the same. And then they always say that Arya looks like Lyanna, and that's also another piece.
But again, as we had discussed previously, is that in fact Jon Snow, being even not the bastard of Eddard, is in fact his nephew. If he's not his father, he's his uncle. So either way, he would have some type of...
Well, Ro brings this up when we were talking about this before. People then say, all right, well, why wouldn't Ed just be honest? If Jon is a Targaryen, why wouldn't Ed be honest? And we all think the same thing, and Ro says it best. Why, Ro?
Because of Robert Baratheon. Yeah. Nobody likes killing Targaryen babies more than Robert Baratheon. So that is my theory on why it is this big hush-hush, is that Ned is hiding it, not just keeping his oath, which, we feel that that's a possibility, but also the fact that he doesn't want that friction.
I think, just to wrap up this subject, I know we went on it for a while, but the last thing I wanted to mention was we never get to see what Ned's sister feels about Robert. You know, there's always two sides to the story. Robert's deeply in love with her. Who's to say she's deeply in love with him?
Right.
From what we hear, she's wild. She's got wolf's blood. You know, maybe she thought Rhaegar was, a better, hotter item.
Hot stuff.
You know, maybe he's like, oh, this Robert guy, you know?
Yeah.
The one thing in the show that counters it is Targaryens. They don't burn in fire.
Right.
Jon burns, right? When he saves,
Oh, yeah.
what's his name from the White Walker? He
Well,
burns.
I was under the impression only the dragon wouldn't burn in fire.
So is he
Which would be Dany.
So he's a Targaryen, but not the dragon. I guess that's true. 'Cause
The
Viserys
brother is
burns,
a Targaryen, and he burns when Khal gives him.
Maybe it skips a generation, like Blue Eyes or something, you know?
So something to think about. Hopefully they, either in the books or the show, they start to give us more to figure that out. All right, third topic is one that Mike and I have discussed a lot in the past, and I'm sure Mike's discussed with Ro. The Starks get into the war in season 1.
Right.
Whose fault is it? Who pulls the Starks into the war?
Mike?
Okay, now, I think that Catelyn is the main cause for the Starks' demise. I think that she's constantly making just bad moves. I mean, she's just as bad as her husband, if not worse. I really blame Catelyn. I always did. I feel like she's just too... She don't think things through.
You feel she's impulsive.
Impulsive, right. That's the word. It's like the best example is when she kidnaps Tyrion. I feel like that set so many things in motion, so many domino effect from that moment that, it leads to Ned getting approached by Jaime Lannister and that awesome fight scene they had, which was like I love that fight scene. Great. But besides that, it leads to Ned getting wounded. Now he's in, not only that, the timing was so bad because Ned just gave up his power as Hand of the King. So now the timing is just horrible. Maybe Ned would have got, back in Robert's good graces, but it was just, it just threw Ned's game all off, and Ned's game sucked as it is. So, really just was the nail in the coffin for Ned. And I feel like, him having to defend her made him in a real vulnerable position and, led to Ned losing his head.
Mm-hmm.
You've convinced me. I used to argue against you, and I think you're right. But I'll put forth my old argument that it's Ed, and it's his honor. Here's a guy who we were just talking about, right? He's so honorable. How could we think that he would cheat on Catelyn and have a kid, right? Ned's honor makes him too transparent. He can't play the Game of Thrones, right? He doesn't know how to lie to people. He won't lie to people. Sorry, I keep smashing on the table. I'm sorry. He's too honorable, too transparent. He could have agreed with Cersei to make a deal in season 1, and he doesn't. He could have agreed to put Renly on the throne and probably been in a more powerful position, and it doesn't. He could have said no to Robb and not become the Hand, but he doesn't make all of these moves because of his honor, and that really pulls them in. Now, I think you're right, because I think that even with his honor, he might have been able to figure out something, because he is being patient, and Catelyn kind of speeds him up too much.
Right. She definitely pulls the trigger a few times. Even does it to Robb. If you think about it, Robb Stark has had to deal with her sidestepping as well, throughout the show later on down the line. So, we have seen a few incidences of Catelyn, being that impulsive mother. I want to know who paralyzed my son. I want to know now, kind of, and I think that as mothers, we can all feel her passion there. But in the same breath, it does put things into play that I don't know so much that Winterfell is ready for.
All right, just like the Red Wedding, let's kill off the Stark topics and move on to topic number 4. We meet the Small Council in season 1. So, who's the most interesting member of the Small Council?
Okay, I'll start this one. I think Littlefinger is the most interesting for me. I think he's just always lurking behind the scenes. I think he's I think he's the puppet master of a lot of things that happen on this show. I don't have specifics as much as I just know that he's behind the scenes putting things in motion, and you could just tell he's more than he seems. He's not just the master of coin. He's that, but he's also running information just like Varys does, but in a more self-fulfilling, prideful, he wants like Varys even says later on he would he would burn the kingdom if he could rule the ashes. And another thing that I love about him is he's playing the intrigue game, which I love that. I think it's interesting that he's not the Stark fighter. And he even says in episode 7, You Win or You Die, he says, I'll never win that way. That's their game, their rules. I'm not gonna fight him. I'm gonna fuck him. So he's gonna, he's fighting his own way. He learned his lesson. He had to battle, like they say, he had to battle the Stark brother for Catelyn way back, and he lost because he's not a fighter. But now he knows. He learned from that, and I think he's gonna be, one of the big players. Even though he doesn't belong to a big house, I think he's gonna make his own name.
I'm going to go with the Master of Secrets on this one. I'm not a big fan of the Small Council. I'm not, I've never really, jumped at the occasion to watch any of them on the screen. But, of course, if I'm going to go with anyone, it will definitely be Varys, the Master of Secrets. Definitely, I'm sorry. I screwed that up. The Master of Whisperer.
Right.
Whisperers.
Same difference.
Yeah.
Whisper secrets.
Yeah. There's like 3 things that call it something a little different here. But getting back to the point of that is that, all in all, he does interject when when Ice is getting ready to swing down on Ned. He does try to interject there. He is also in the scene with Ned just previous to Ned being decapitated, where he's trying to help there. So there are a few times that he is somewhat genuine, and then of course he's supposed to be known as a manipulator, but there are times that he comes in and does the right thing, and then there are times that they show him to be losing it, like the guy in the crate. He's got this guy in the crate and he's like, I'm gonna take care of this guy. And but again, to me, it's not a big topic. For me, it's like I said, I'm not even that well educated on it for that reason. I'm not a big fan.
You get the sense that all the War of the Five Kings, all of this is people like Varys and Littlefinger and others behind the scenes setting this all into motion, right? And the big houses don't even realize that they're pawns,
Right.
And I'm gonna agree with Ro. I like Varys. His motivation. They're both, like you said, they're both manipulators. They're both con men behind the scenes. They're both moving the chess pieces. But I really think Varys, his motivation is more selfless. He believes in the realm. He believes in the kingdom. And I love the comment you make about King of the Ashes, Mike, because Littlefinger is not, right? They're both very similar characters, except what do they want in the end? Littlefinger wants it all for himself. Varys really wants better for the kingdom. The story, I think it's not in season 1, but the little story he tells about the king, the rich man, and the priest, and who really has the power.
Right.
And that it's all just the game. It's all just shadow. So you have to figure out what power is. But, I want to see more about what Varys has been doing. How powerful is he, and what is his motivation? Is he the selfless guy I think he is? Or am I going to find out that he's really like Littlefinger and he's not? So.
Well, again, another thought of him comes to mind is the scene where he's in King's Landing with Sansa and trying to give her words of wisdom as well. So, there are definitely some times that he surfaces to be less of a manipulator. And, I'm sure that there's plenty of times in the show that he is. So, it's tough to say.
All right, topic 5. What is your number 1 Dany, or because Mike has a man crush, your number 1 Drago moment?
Crown for king! Sorry. I'll let you guys go first. I'm going to warm up for Drago. Unless you want me to.
I was waiting for you to take the floor.
All right. Well, I finally get to talk about Khal Drogo. He came and went way too fast. I think he's one of the coolest characters in the story. I'm a big fan. Awesome character, like this big barbarian. I mean, he's way better than the Conan Barbarian performance. I didn't think that was as good. This was the Barbarian performance. He was great. The two favorite moments for me is, like I just said, when he finally had enough. When Dany's sister comes, Danny's brother comes in.
Sorry, you can call him a girl. That's okay.
It's pretty accurate.
It's sexist,
little
but it's okay.
Little wussy boy beggar king. comes in and puts the sword to Danny's stomach, and Carl's like, okay, you're going to take care of this jerk, Gets up, melts the gold. First gets the guy to break his arm and dumps the gold on him, crowned for king, and his head bangs on the floor. Great scene. And the best for me with Khal Drogo was when that guy stepped up, when they were just kind of like the downfall of him. Actually, this is where it all happens, where he starts to die, unfortunately. When Danny has a problem with the Dothrakis just being Dothrakis, raping and pillaging, just doing their thing. It was a Tuesday for them, but Danny's like, this is not cool. What are you guys doing, raping these women? So Khal loves Danny so much at this point and respects Danny, which is really interesting too, because he kind of, she really won him over, Sun and Stars, all that. And he says, nah, man, put him back. Go find somewhere else to stick your dick, he tells the guy. And, and then he gets up and just throws his swords down, and it was just the coolest thing. Rips the tongue right out of the guy's throat, throws it on the pile. Awesome. I mean, that guy, I'm sad to see him go, but at least we got baby dragons out of it.
Yeah, I was not thrilled to see Khal come and go as he did. I of course, maybe it's a biased opinion because I'm a female, but I'd rather watch Khal than Danny, and I thought he was a great character. His the look, the appearance, he definitely pulled that off, no doubt. Did a definitely spectacular performance. I laugh because I have to say, in real life, this actor seems like he really thinks his shit don't stink. But on screen, hey, he's got my respect. And it is ironic, I guess. We see the Khal Drogo go down from a scratch.
Yeah.
So it is. I guess well done, Martin. To take down this Amazon by getting a scratch on his chest.
It's so true.
So
sucks.
See, for me, the Khal is just a set piece for Danny. A big thing about this show is, who's everyone's favorite character? Jon Snow, Danny, and the Imp.
Yeah.
The characters that start low and come high. And Khal Drogo, for me, is the story of how Danny goes from her brother's plaything, basically,
right,
to a queen.
To Mother of Dragons.
Yeah, absolutely.
Khaleesi.
And, I love the scene when Danny, the brother of Viserys, brings the whore in and is like, how dare you send this whore to get me? And he goes to slap her and do what he's always done to
right,
her, and she doesn't take that anymore.
Yeah.
But she becomes the queen because of her relationship with the Khal.
Right.
She absorbs his manliness. So there you go, Mike. He's still in the show.
Right.
And that's, she's the best character.
Yeah, it's a great scene. What does she say? She says, next time you raise your hands, it'll be the last time you have hands.
Right.
Badass. That was good. Yeah, Danny's great. But I'll have more time to talk about Danny. I gotta get my draw going.
I think there's definitely going to be a big to do for the Targaryens in the future.
Got
no
the
doubt.
dragons, man.
All right, last topic: Lannisters and family loyalty.
Yeah, You want to start on this or no? All right, yeah. The Lannisters. Definitely. I'll start with Cersei on this. Cersei definitely. I think when she's talking to Joffrey, she mentions that. Anybody who's not one of us is our enemy. And, I think the main players of the family, which is like Tywin and Cersei, have that, whatever's best for Team Lannister. That's all we care about, and it's kind of like the Littlefinger way of doing it, where it's like what's best for us, but a little less singular, the family, and, he wants everybody to respect the family and fear the family, Tywin, as the leader. And Cersei, only seems to have interest in men with the last name Lannister, apparently. Right. So, and even Tyrion to some degree. Now, of course, Tyrion's very bitter, but considering all the crap that Tyrion put up with, still loyal to the family. He which is interesting, because you would think a guy like him, who's been basically crapped on his whole life, he's still proud to be a Lannister. He's got, he wears the emblem proudly, and, obviously gives him some status that he wouldn't have as a dwarf. I think he even said if he was in any other family, he would have got thrown off a mountain into the into the rocks.
I don't know if I really so much agree with that. I think there is a lot of family betrayal on Tyrion's part when when you're discussing the fact that he's this diehard Lannister. I just disagree. One of my favorite, I mean by far on the show is Shay. Shay is, as we know, a former prostitute. And that is dead set against Tywin's wishes. Tywin tells Tyrion, the next whore I catch in your bed is going to be, she's going to be dead. And, Tyrion once again does it. He's now a married man. He's got his Shay thing going on the side. So I mean, I have to just really differ opinion there, because I just don't see it. I think that Tyrion is a great person when it comes to having a focus and getting the job done, and we've seen that in different situations throughout the show. But I do think that the loyalty to the Lannisters, I have to sort of disagree with. I mean, of course he's a Lannister, of course he's living with that, but I just don't think the loyalty is there so much to Cersei. Sort of can't stand her, even though it's his sister. He lies, straight to his father's face, essentially. Can't stand Joffrey, raises his hands to him, which, who can blame him? Maybe there's a little bit of some kind of a camaraderie between him and his brother Jaime. But, I think that goes both ways for them. And again, even to his wife, he's still seeing the whore behind her back.
Right.
So it is tough to say.
I'll take the family piece by piece. Obviously, yeah, the Lannister is about family loyalty, and that's set up by Tywin, the father. So you take the 3 kids. Cersei is all about family loyalty, but for her, the Lannister, she doesn't include Tyrion in the Lannisters. As time goes on, she doesn't include Jaime in the Lannisters. Mm-hmm. For her, the Lannisters are her kids. So yeah, she's loyal to the Lannisters, and eventually for her that means her kids. That's who she's loyal to. And maybe her dad, except when her dad tells her not to do something. Problem is, she's a helicopter mom, and she does things that might be good for her kids in the short run, like indulging them, but are not good for the family's overall stability. Is Jaime loyal to the family? Yeah, but Jaime is, and we've kind of brought this up before, he's a knight. He's not the schemer, he's not the politician. So is he loyal to the family? Yeah, but he's not, maybe we'll see him in this next season be a politician, but as of right now, he's not a politician. And I'm thinking of the argument that you guys are having back and forth. Is the imp, is he loyal to the family? He is. He plays the Game of Thrones and he is loyal to the family. But I think he's so shat on by his sister that he just has to needle her so much. Right. That it goes against his family loyalty. And with his father, too. I mean, he does what his father asks him to, even when his father says, you killed my wife by being born. So how can you blame him for trying to needle his father, too? Right. I don't know if I think that Tyrion's not loyal to the family. I think that he tries to be loyal to the family, and his father and his sister spit in his face and push him out of the family. Right.
Yeah, I mean, after hearing you guys, Tyrion, like I said, like you said, Sean, it's there. Like, he still tries. Like, he was in charge of the pipes and where was it? In Lannisport, and the shit never flowed better, And, like, he was the hand of the king. He did a great job. He defended the kings. And he's doing that not only for his own preservation, but also for he wants to get the family on the track that he thinks is the best route for the family. But at the same time, yeah, he's bitter.
He's shoveling shit against the tide. Yeah. And he realizes that.
I think the main loyal family is obviously going to be Tywin. Tywin, and like the books speak about, and I'm not going to go into it too much, Tywin's father was a complete screw up. And I think they did mention it in there. But Tywin had a lot of cleaning up to do after his father, who was a very weak leader. Nobody respected the Lannisters. And Tywin came in and gave the Lannisters that, that power back, that, were feared and respected, especially with, the events that happened with the Reigns of Castamere and all that we learn about.
The thing is, if Tywin could love Tyrion, if he could, not even love him, just respect him, he is the son he's always wanted, right?
Definitely.
Like, Tywin thinks Jaime is great because, everyone thinks Jaime is great. But Jaime is not Tywin's son. Tyrion is Tywin's son. He's just as good at politics. He's just as powerful. He's just as good at marshaling support. And if Tywin could look past the fact that his son is disfigured, if he could look past the fact that his wife died and embrace his son, they would be unbeatable. Like, you know, they would be so good as a father and son
Great
team.
point.
Right, that's what I was saying. Is Tyrion has that mission and he knows where he's going with it. So, you know, of course, that's a huge thing in royalty. You know,
I think that's amazing that Tywin is one of the smartest people on the show, but he just can't even see what's happening with his own kids sometimes. You know, like, I think it's an interesting that he's got that blind spot, even though he's a genius tactician. He just can't see what's going on like that. Like you said, Tyrion is his son.
I had decided that as the leader of the Red Vipers, Bannerman, that it would be nice for us to plug other alliances from Game of Thrones Ascent as well. I feel it is relevant, you know, being that it is part of the Game of Thrones, or, you know, an extension of. Though it would be nice if we could plug in a different alliance every week. This week I have chosen to go ahead and plug a long-time ally of ours, which is now currently the Protectors of the Stronghold. They are a Tyrell-based alliance, of course open to all fealties. Protectors of the Stronghold is led by Lord Hal. Adminning is Lady Chloe Lannister and also Lord Marlinus. Great people, great alliance. If it feels like something that would interest you, then feel free to jump into their rook. You can find them on Wiki. We're going to provide their Wiki address for you. Again, Wiki, Protectors of the Stronghold. So that pretty much wraps it up.
All right, see you guys next time.